The following podcast contains alcohol-enhanced conversations about alcohol, as well as a potential for discussions about other topics of dubious, disturbing, possibly offensive, but usually hilarious interest. The opinions stated herein are solely of the person stating them, and any endorsement of these opinions by any other party is not implied. Foul language is likely, but intolerant viewpoints are not. Listener intoxication is advised. Hello and welcome to the third episode of the Whiskey Tangent Podcast. I'm Scott.
And I'm Ed.
This day, we're going to talk about two whiskey experiences that we had in the past couple weeks. My first trip to the Whiskey Lounge.
Our Whiskey Lounge?
Yes. I didn't say my Whiskey Lounge, did I?
No, but just the Whiskey Lounge.
All right.
It's our Whiskey Lounge, sorry.
Yes. And a whiskey tasting event at a local restaurant that we went to with a couple of our friends. Ed is going to start with the specifics.
Yeah, first of all, I didn't mean that we own the Whiskey Lounge. As we mentioned earlier, we belong.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
It would be. It is a retirement dream if you have to have them. We went to our Whiskey Lounge, and it was Scott's first visit, so we broke open our bottle of Angel Envy Rye, which is one of our personal favorites, which we have in our locker. We're able to purchase bottles at a pretty good price through the lounge, and they store it in our locker. The lounge itself has 129 American whiskeys, so we're always tempted to purchase stuff off the menu. It's really delicious stuff there, stuff you can, it's very rare. Stuff you certainly wouldn't want to spend $200-300 a bottle. This is what we talked about earlier, where if you want to treat yourself or you want to try something that you hear people talking about, $15-18, you could do it. Most of the drinks in there were around $12, including the Manhattan. You get a very nice Manhattan, which I've had there several times.
Yeah, I should have had it that night. I was too busy drinking our Angel's Envy Rye.
Now, if you want to have something besides American whiskey, you can order it through the lounge, and they'll store it in your locker for you. You can have vodka, you can have gin.
And we have an Irish whiskey. We get the Redbreast 12-year.
We did. The night that we were there, we talked about how thin it tasted after the maple syrup goodness of the Angel Envy Rye. But then, I went back and had it another night by myself. It is a delicious whiskey. It really is. It's just completely different than the Angel Envy Rye.
Yeah, and most of that is the proof, because I believe the Angel's Envy Rye is 100 proof, and most Irish whiskeys are 80.
Yeah, they live around the 80 proof line, there's no doubt. So we went there, and while we were enjoying the Angel Envy Rye,
so much,
we had, and what's great about the whiskey community is a person came in, and he had just purchased through the lounge a bottle of WhistlePig Boss Hogg.
13 years aged, barrel strength, finished in Calvados casks. I don't know what Calvados is.
Well, which version of the Boss Hogg was it again?
It was the 5th edition.
Right.
The Spirit of Mauve, whatever that means.
Well, I know what it means. WhistlePig normally ages their Boss Hogg 15 years. In this case, they did 13 years. The Spirit of Mauve is a single barrel whiskey bottled at barrel proof. But the 5th edition of the 13-year straight rye finished in Calvados apple brandy. Mauve was from a growing canon of WhistlePig celebrity hogs who loved apples. Thus, the reason for finishing in the Calvados apple brandy barrels. She also is a former partner of another famous pig, Mauve's lover, Mortimer, who was the inspiration of the Black Prince 2. He was given that honor after his untimely death in 2014. And the bottle...
WhistlePig's aptly named.
They love their pigs there. I mean, they've had them for over a decade.
Where's the whistle come from, I wonder?
That's a whole other question. So, whether you think it's morbid or not, this particular bottle came in a box that was shaped like a casket.
Yeah.
And it retails for anywhere from $600 to $650 a bottle. So it's definitely something that you're not going to run out and buy a case of. Or maybe you are. Don't mean to judge you, but we're not buying a case of it. So
no.
The guy who bought it was nice enough to give Scott and I a drink of it, and
yeah, that was really awesome.
It was really nice of him, and this is what I mean about whiskey drinkers.
Because what is it a glass?
Well, if you buy it there, if they have it there, it's $100 a glass.
Yeah.
So we all drank it, and Of course, you don't want to drink a whiskey like that alone. You know, would you go sit in the corner and drink it? He's not that type of guy. It's not that type of place. So we all enjoyed it, and it was spectacular. It really, really was spectacular. Now, is it 6 times more spectacular than the Angel Envy Rye that we were drinking? I don't think so. I'll be honest with you, no. But was it special? Yes.
Yeah, I mean, if you're spending $600-700 for a whiskey, I think I said it that night, it's like, it better taste like this. Because if it doesn't, you're going to be extremely disappointed. You're wasting your money.
I had WhistlePig before in different versions. I've never tasted anything that tasted just like that, which is, I guess, what you're looking for if you're buying something that special. But why the aging and maturation process has become so important, we're going to talk about later, because it comes back around to our second event, which was the whiskey tasting.
Yeah, so our friend Rich is a cop, so Fraternal Order of Police charity event that he invited us to. It was $60 to go in the door, and there were, 31? He said 100, so I take issue with that, first of all.
It's not 100.
Because 100, okay.
And thank God.
100 is ridiculous. Yeah.
And thank God, by the way. If there was 100 whiskeys there, I might not be sitting here, but that's a whole other part of the story.
Ed might have died.
I tasted my fill. That's for sure. And we'll get to that in a minute, and we'll get to tasting for a minute. But
there were about 30 whiskeys.
Going back to before we leave the whiskey lounge, while I've been there, I've had so many people share stuff with me that I've never had. And this is why I encourage you to get out there and socialize with other drinkers. We had what was the Irish whiskey that 17-year?
Did it start with a W?
I thought it was
an M.
Michael was it Richardson? No.
Q.
No.
J. X.
Well,
I'll just keep naming letters. Pi.
Oh, it was Midleton's.
Oh, that's it.
17.
M. That was one of the letters I said.
So 17-year Midleton's.
To be fair, I said 20.
I have to tell you, it was spectacular. It's about $160 a bottle. So once again, not something a normal person's gonna drink a lot of, and they like to keep a bottle of it around. And it was spectacular. So it's definitely, I think, the best Irish whiskey I ever drank.
Yeah, I remember tasting it. I don't remember what it tasted like.
One time we were down in Wildwood at the Anglesea pub, and
oh god,
this goes back about a decade, and we were having a couple turkey clubs and looking to start our night there and go elsewhere. Right, that was the plan. And the bartender took a liking to us, and he was determined that we were going to try every Irish whiskey that he had in the place, from Powers to Paddy's to Tullamore Dew to Bushmills Black. It was just a plethora of Irish whiskeys. We got a tremendous course in Irish whiskey that day, and which, of course, I'm a big fan of.
Yeah, and they were friendly bartender pours as well. Like, it was filling the glass to the top. Even though there was ice in it, it was to the top every time. And these weren't small glasses.
Right. The highlight of the night for me was Scott singing along with the band doing Down Under by Men at Work as loud as he could. It was the highlight of my...
Yeah, that's right.
We had a couple young ladies with us, and it was...
I do remember that.
And it was a really good time. And
I also remember you finding me later sitting on the front steps of the establishment, not remembering where I was.
Yes, you were getting some air. And then we got you in the cab, we got you home, and that's, it's what we do sometimes. And it was a tremendous night at the shore, and we didn't do anything else but the Anglesea pub that night. But hey, Anglesea pub is still there. If you're in Wildwood, they still have a great collection of Irish whiskeys if that's your thing.
Yeah, and it might be the perfect segue into the evening that we ended up having at the whiskey tasting event, because somebody drank a little bit too much.
I didn't realize it was too much until it was too much. But let's talk about that a minute. My only complaint, I have two complaints with the whiskey tasting that we went to. The food was spectacular. It really was.
Yeah, it's a good restaurant.
It was a very good restaurant. It was done in a buffet, small plate setting. You get a little piece of chicken, get a little hummus and pita, whatever you wanted to do. There was some pasta, which I wish I'd eaten more of. I'd gone there not eating dinner, and I started drinking before I hit the buffet. And that's all taboo, amateur mistakes that I would never have made going to a whiskey tasting. But I really walked in there with an empty stomach. And sometimes I'm a little too overconfident. We all need to be careful about that. But don't get me wrong. Everything went well for many hours. This is just the way the night ended, not the way it went. I was fine.
True.
I was fine.
You were fine. You were professional.
Everything was spectacular. I was talking to the distributors and the different people. There's two complaints I have. They didn't have water, okay? There should have been pitchers of water
everywhere. Yeah.
Okay. I had to keep requesting water from the staff, and that was to the ignorance of the people who set up the event, because they invited the vendors in, but you need to have water. Second, some of the people were spectacularly informed about the product.
Yes.
They were whiskey connoisseurs. They were knowledgeable. And when they poured me a tasting, they poured me like a tasting. Other people were kind of a little bit on the T&A. Pretty faces, smiles.
Yeah.
Kind of the same people you see at the Philadelphia Car Show.
Yeah.
And they were pouring me drinks like I was having a party at their house.
I made the mistake of going to one of those first.
Yes, me too. We went there first.
Yeah.
Maybe because
Well, maybe.
I just had a nice smile and a pretty face. And
possibly.
Maybe she worked. It drew us there first.
The thing was, she gave us these glasses and just free poured. I mean, a healthy, friendly bartender poured drink. I'm like, oh, this is how tonight's going to go.
And I'm stone bone cold sober, so I took that right to the heart. Like, it was a delicious drink. I enjoyed it. And then we went right to the next one, and we started getting 2 more tastes of that. And I realized, wait, I need to eat, so I broke off and ate. But at that point, I technically probably had 2.5 drinks before I even got like a piece of chicken and some salad in me. So that's my only problem. You really should have people who know the product. It makes the tasting so much more enjoyable. And we'll get to some of the great people and what we learned from because you can learn something no matter how much you've been around whiskey. There's always something to learn when you go to a tasting.
And I think one of the people who was really knowledgeable, like you said, her name, and I remember this because she was very knowledgeable, Emily from Heaven Hill.
Yeah, we talked about Heaven Hill on our podcast before. They make a couple of products that I've liked for a long time. Elijah Craig, for example, what I consider one of the most underrated bourbons on the market.
It is.
But talking to her, we realized they have a bunch of other ones that I didn't realize that they offered, including an 18-year and a 23-year, which I've never seen, and I would love to try them.
Sure.
I really would, because I'm a big Elijah Craig fan. That's so true.
Maybe Time has them. We could do a flight.
Possible. We should go to Time. That's in Philly. It's one of our favorite whiskey bars in Philadelphia.
As I say, every podcast, we're going to mention it every time. See what I did there? I could just imagine everyone pressing stop.
changing to Joe Rogan right now.
So yeah, they had the Blenheim Wheated Whiskey. They had the regular Elijah Craig. They had a single barrel Evan Williams.
Yes.
Which is usually their low brand. That's a competitor of Jim Beam and Jack Daniels, the black label. But this was single barrel, which was very good.
It is. And
they had 2 more whiskeys, and I don't.
The Evan Williams single barrel, just so you know, it's about an 87 proof, 7 to 8 years aged. It is under the radar, very affordable, and very drinkable. And
it might be the cheapest single barrel out there.
It might be. I mean, it's won some awards. Every whiskey bottle has some type of award on it. A gold medal, silver medal from. I think they just get together and give each other medals every quarter. But one product that I have been seeing everywhere I go the last 6 months is their Larceny 92 proof.
That was one of the other ones, yeah, Larceny.
And I did try that. That was actually
that was good too.
The one of the first drinks I had, and she knew what she was doing, so she was giving us tasters. But we tasted 5 things. So next thing you know, you're
yeah. She, the first woman who was extremely nice and gave us the giant, generous pour. We would ask her some questions about it, and then she would kind of look at the bottle like she didn't really
We actually knew way more about her product than she did.
But Emily was spouting off facts and figures and the aging process and the proofs without even having to look at the bottle or refer to the amazing booklet they had on hand, which they gave us a copy.
It was just well done. Heaven Hill impressed me very much at the tasting. They were prepared. They had a great product list with them. They had a great knowledgeable person there to inform us. And to me, I left there with their distillery a lot higher in my mind, and their products a lot higher in my opinion as well.
And what's the price on Larceny? Do you have an idea?
It's high 30s, maybe a little cheaper.
This one has 30. Yeah, between 30 to 36 is probably the range.
And you can get it in a half gallon. They have it in a 1.75.
Oh yeah, they do.
Which a lot of the craft bourbons you can't get, and
that's 54 about.
Yeah, which is why one reason I like the Bulleit family is that
Very similar to Bulleit prices.
They can, we can still find a 1.75 a Bulleit for $49.
So Larceny's one you could take a chance on, I think, if you're looking for something new.
But if you haven't had Elijah Craig, start there.
Oh, definitely.
Because I like that.
Elijah Craig is one that I always liked to dismiss. And then every time I had it, I have to reevaluate my opinion of it because sorry. I have to issue an official apology to Elijah Craig.
And I spike it on him. and then I make him hold a basketball and I block it into the stands.
And then he makes me have 2 drinks.
Of the Elijah Craig.
Of the Elijah Craig.
Which is really not a punishment at all. It's actually delicious.
That's true. Maybe that's why I do it.
So the other things that we other spirits
the other whiskeys
that were there was
So we can start off with the first woman that we went to who gave us the giant pours. She had Redemption.
Right. Redemption,
which we already talked about in our first.
We know way more about it than she did.
Yeah,
she actually told us I was just really hired to come here and pour.
Yeah, and she was, and that's fine. Bib and Tucker, which has an amazing bottle. I can't even describe it accurately. Just look up Bib and Tucker bottle on Google, and you'll just see this amazing dark glass not etched, but raised glass on it.
Yeah, it looks like you dug it out of like the floor of a barn from the 1800s. It's so rustic and so old looking. Can you be like, this is amazing?
I had it many years ago. I read something about it, said it was a great whiskey. It was about $50, I think, and I decided to take a chance on it, partially because the bottle was so damn cool.
Cool bottle.
I hated it. I absolutely loathed it. I couldn't finish it. It was so bad. At the tasting,
we tried it again. He didn't want to.
I did not want to.
I said, come on, it's been a long time.
I liked it.
It was much. It was really actually a very unique taste.
And I can't explain the difference. I mean, maybe it was just a different whiskey. Like we said before, and we'll probably say again, if you're a new company and you need to get your whiskey out there, you buy your whiskey from somewhere else. Now, that whiskey might not be what your whiskey is going to taste like. I mean, I don't know about the good reviews. Maybe I just got a bad batch. I have no idea. But, okay. Official apology to Bib and Tucker now.
And so a perfect segue.
That's 2 whiskeys.
A perfect segue to what I want to talk about next, which is Sagamore Spirits. It's a Maryland-based distillery, and they were there in force. And I'd seen them before in the stores. Our Whiskey Lounge has them and other places, and I've walked right by them. I just was like, Maryland rye whiskey. I mean, isn't there other things for me to try before that, right? I mean, I know everybody had whiskey in the colonies, So they had a fantastic person there who was actually pouring the whiskey, who knew all about the individual ryes that they had there.
By the way, that's what we're drinking right now.
Right. In honor of the impression that they made at the tasting on us, we went out and we bought a bottle of Sagamore Spirit Rye, which is their mildest one, actually.
Yeah, their regular rye, it is 83 proof.
Which is far lower than most of their other offerings. Their port finish is 101 proof, which you also sampled that night.
They have a cask strength, which was also at the store tonight, but that was about $64, $65. The rye bottle that we got, the regular rye, was about $43.
We didn't feel like doing 113 proof tonight, I'll be honest with you. Like it's a weeknight here for us. We got other things we have to do tomorrow.
It's a Wednesday. My favorite that they had there, they had 4 whiskeys, the 2 that we mentioned already, and a double oaked rye, which was my favorite whiskey of the night. There was so much rye character in it. It was like the rye punched you in the nose with it. It was delicious.
The one that we're dealing with is their traditional spirit rye. It's a very nice drinking rye whiskey. All of them were. Remember we were in a whiskey tasting with 60 different whiskeys.
30. It was $60.
Oh, right. So there was 30 different whiskeys to taste, and once again I tasted pretty much all of them. So I'm just going to leave it out there. The mistake I probably made is I had a couple favorites which I could have passed. There was a single barrel Jack Daniels, which I hadn't had for a very long time, and I have an affection for because it doesn't taste anything like Jack Daniels. It's a very unique tasting whiskey.
And again, if you're confused between what's a small batch and single barrel, it's exactly what it says. Small batch, they take a bunch of barrels and they mix them together, but in small quantities. Or they only produce it in small batches. The single barrel is literally a single barrel. They choose it because, for whatever reason, when it was being aged, it was in the proper place. It got the right kind of wood, and the proper temperature. It tasted to the master distillers as one of the best, and they can charge a premium for it because it taste amazing.
Correct. And you can actually, and I've been a part of this through a very close and favorite cousin of mine, Greg. He would go to Tennessee and buy a barrel with a bunch of guys, and then they would, I'm sorry, buy the barrel. Did I say barrel or bottle? They'd buy the barrel and bring it back home and bottle it, and they would have like, I don't know, like, I can't remember how many bottles. Like,
yeah, we probably look at
the
that.
bottom line is that if the list price was $52 in the store today, you could get probably 3 bottles for $100, what it would average price-wise. So it was a good deal, and it was delicious, and each one tasted a little bit different. We got 3 or 4 barrels in a row, so we were able to taste the difference of the brands because we had some left over. So we'd have like a barrel 3 with a barrel 1, and it's very interesting. Not to go off on a Jack Daniels tangent, but I'm just giving it just giving it a little bit of love, a little shout out because I really enjoy it.
The Googles say that a barrel is about 53 gallons, which is 267 750 milliliter bottles.
Right, so there you go.
That's a lot of bottles.
Yeah, and the barrel wasn't cheap, but when you break it with a bunch of people all going in to get bottles, it wasn't bad at all.
Right, and you get a lot of bottles.
Right, so if you threw $200 and you went home with 6 barrels of really good...
6 bottles?
6 bottles?
6 barrels?
No, 6 bottles. If you threw $200 in...
You said 6 barrels.
Oh, damn it. 6 bottles of really good whiskey. So
Back to Sagamore.
Back to Sagamore. They are a incredibly new distillery to have such great product. So the question you ask
April of 2017.
All right,
so not even 2 years old.
So here, let me ask the question you're asking. How does a company have 4-year-old or 5-year-old delicious rye whiskey, okay, when they've only been in business for 2 years? Scratch your head. We asked ourselves this, and then we went onto their website to try to figure out what the deal was. And they had a little paragraph talking about their rye whiskey. Tell the people what Sagamore Spirit says about their rye whiskey.
Why, I will, Ed.
Well, good. I'll drink while you do that.
A bit about our rye whiskey. We are proud to call Baltimore our home, and since April 2017, have been distilling and aging our proprietary straight whiskey from our distillery on Baltimore's waterfront. It takes 4 years to get the perfect taste, so stay tuned. Which means we're not drinking what they're distilling. Second paragraph. But we wanted to share our Maryland-style rye whiskey before our distillery was built. So we asked our friends in Indiana, MGP, to distill our 2 different proprietary mash bills for us. They make great whiskeys out there, and we couldn't be prouder of the product. Once the whiskey is aged, it's shipped to our Maryland distillery in barrels, and our distilling team proofs it with Sagamore Farm spring water before hand bottling and labeling each one. It's just what I said with Bib and Tucker and what we've said before about new companies.
Right. If Scott and I were going to start up a company, this is what we would do. And it just sounds terrible when you hear it. It sounds like a disaster of a product. And yet, I'm telling you, Sagamore Spirit Rye, the double oak is a treat. The regular rye is very nice. And yet, MGP are geniuses. I mean, I want to meet the owners and operators of that place.
We should go out there.
We probably should. They have given us so many spectacular nights and so much fun, and dozens of products come from them.
Yeah,
and
we mentioned a bunch of them. Was that our first podcast?
Yeah.
We've only done 2. We should probably remember which one it was.
And we talked about earlier WhistlePig.
Yeah, WhistlePig.
Aged 13 and a half years, this traditional bourbon, whatever, that with the history and the aging. And now we have this 3-4-year-old rye whiskey that we feel is delicious, that we can enjoy both in the same week and have the same feeling about it. It's really interesting is all I'm saying. And don't forget that the WhistlePig Straight Rye comes from MGP's original mash bill as well. So,
yeah. Angel's Envy Rye and Bulleit, some of our favorites.
Redemption.
What do you think this tastes like? How do you like it?
I can't really put my finger on it. It tastes very different from the Redemption. I'll say that.
Mm-hmm.
Very different from the Redemption, which I'm assuming starts with similar rye mash bill.
I'm going to look for the mash bill because I'm not sure we know what their mash bill is.
Who? MGP?
No.
Oh.
The Sagamore match bill that they're talking about.
All right. So, yeah, I think they're hiding that because I think we know what it is and more than they do.
We probably know it's the 95.
The 95.
5, right?
Right. 95.5 mash bill from MGP that Sagamore will use some of their local spring water to proof it down to 83.
And maybe when they get the barrels, they're mixing the barrels to try to get a particular taste.
Mm-hmm.
So it is going to be different than other ones. It reminds me a lot of Bulleit Rye. Bulleit Rye is 90 proof, though, so it's a little bit thicker. It's a little bit sweeter. This is, like I said, a little bit thinner because it's 83. So it reminds me of Bulleit Rye with a little bit of water in it.
I taste a lot of vanilla and maybe a little honey. Definitely some caramel.
Yeah, there's definitely a sweetness there. It could be honey.
And it's not just us. If you go online and look at expert reviews, they like this. They like this rye whiskey, the one that we're drinking. They like it. These are the people who are paid to give their opinions to the industry.
I'm trying to find it. It says at least 51%, but it has to be if it's a rye. So that's not really telling me anything.
No, right. So the reality is it shouldn't be good based on what Scott and I were led to believe in our lives, that you have to have whiskey for 10 years and sit in a barrel and no one touches it. It's grown from corn right outside in the backyard and you bring it in and you grind it up and you make it into a whiskey. But that's not what's happening here. MGP is supplying the world with amazing American whiskeys.
Okay, so I finally found out on a website that their percentages for their mash bill are proprietary. So I call bullshit. I want to know.
So I think what's going on here is they're taking some of the classic 95 mash bill and they're probably blending it with another one of MGP's that's a little bit lower to get their own kind of blend of the two different batches. They don't want you to know that.
This is specifically about the cask strength rye whiskey, saying the percentages are proprietary, but that it did blend two different straight rye whiskeys.
Wow,
so,
it's like I'm Nostradamus over here.
Whiskey Damus. And I can't see a goddamn thing. I don't know why I'm looking stuff up, but you can't look it up because you just went to the eye doctors.
And I came from the eye doctor. I've been dilated 2.5 hours ago. I still can't read. It's crazy.
I definitely need to go to the eye doctor.
Anybody
My eyes
listen,
are getting worse. We're both over 50, so when you get older, you're going to get ailments.
Right, and once you get over 50, they recommend. I'm as a public service announcement, I like to keep everybody healthy out there. Over 50,
Ed's PSA.
You should get a
on your butt.
You should get a colonoscopy and get your colon checked out. My father had colon cancer, so I've been getting them since they were 40. Since I was 40, every 5 years, and it never gets any more fun. I'll tell you. So it's a great experience when you're getting a colonoscopy. The prep is the worst part, no doubt. It just locks you down for 24 hours. You can't really go anywhere.
And you can't eat, right?
Yeah, you can't. No, you just clear liquids, and that's never.
Clearly, I have not had a colonoscopy.
You need to, and we'll talk.
I do but I just did turn 50, and don't have a family history of it.
But you did just turn 50. But
stop saying but. Seriously.
Let me ask something, Scott. Though you never had a colonoscopy,
right?
How many times do you think you're going to have something put up your butt for a colonoscopy?
How many times?
Yeah, in your mind, going into a colonoscopy.
Once when they actually do it.
Exactly. That's what you would think.
Oh, is that not the case?
No, not with my guy. My guy's an overachiever, okay? So, the first time I went for a colonoscopy with him, he's an amazing doctor. He's very talented, but he's incredibly eclectic. He looks up when he talks sometimes. His eyes float to the top of his head, and he's like, we're going to get in there, and we're going to take a look around, and, if we see something, we're going to snip it and send it out, and don't worry about it, and you're going to be fine. And I don't want that. So I go to meet with him to consult for the colonoscopy, which I expected to do. He's going to tell me what he's going to do. And so, next thing I know, I'm on the table, all right, and it's awkward because I've got my dress pants are bundled up at my knees, right, with my drawers. I got a little paper blanket on me, which anyone who knows me knows it's not big enough. All right, all my glory is hanging out the back. He's got an assistant with him.
He's got quite a lot of glory.
So he's putting this little practice colonoscopy up, his little seismoscope or seismoscope.
Oh, the sigmoidoscope.
Exactly.
Yes.
And goes up about 18 inches to show me what he's going to work on. I don't know why we're there. I mean, I guess he wanted to take a look. So we do that. That's
But
fine. That's fine. Okay, it wasn't
Wait,
planned.
Isn't that the colonoscopy?
No.
But he's looking.
No.
I mean,
It's only like a foot and a half. It's basically, I think he would just wanted to see the lay of the land to see if there was anything in
because
the
there's like
rectum or
there's
something.
like miles of colon.
Right.
Yeah.
So, well, there's miles of intestine. The colon's not quite as big, but it's big enough for me. So anyway, I go away. I have the colonoscopy. I wake up in the recovery. It's fine. It's no big deal. It went great. I don't even remember much.
They put you on propofol?
Yeah, they give you that Michael Jackson, go to sleep stuff, and it's the best sleep you ever had.
Of course, he died.
Well, yeah, but you shouldn't do it at home. So I will be honest with you. If I could have somebody give me propofol once or twice a week to help me get a good night's sleep, I'd be tempted to if I was a quadrillionaire, because I think once you're a quadrillionaire, and that's a term, quadrillionaire.
Quadrillionaire?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, yeah, 5 trillion.
Yeah. I think you start to think outside
No, it's
the box a bit.
quintillion. Quadrillionaire is 4.
Okay, so it's a lot of money.
We're drinking.
The point is, I woke up and the colonoscopy was a dream. It was no problem. And everything turned out well. So then I'm good. So what's interesting though, if you've never done it, like, you're on a table. The one thing amazed me, the room was so small. Once they put the gurney in, everybody had about 2 feet between them and the machinery or the wall.
What do you mean everybody?
There was 4 to 5 people in the room with me.
Jesus Christ.
I am butt-ass naked under the sheet with, once again, all my glory hanging out. And at least they lowered the lights, gave me a little bit of mood lighting. I'm on my side. And it's the only time you feel a little bit awkward. You're like, it doesn't happen every day that you're just butt naked in front of like 4 to 5 people.
It doesn't.
I felt like people were coming in and out of the room, which I wasn't really sure what they were doing and why they had to be here.
Depends what your Saturday nights are like.
Hey, no judgment. But that's not even the point. So then you have colonoscopy, you wake up, recover, everything's fine. I suggest you do it. I've had a few people tragically die that I knew from not taking care of that.
Yeah, it can be a really serious
very
disease.
Avoidable.
But very treatable if caught.
Absolutely.
Early.
So here's the funniest part.
Okay.
I go back like 3 weeks later. He throws me back on the table again. So there, my dress pants are third time now. Down around my knees. The same assistants in the room. I'm on my side. Now this time he's got me watching the TV screen of my colon. While he's fishing what type of scope?
Oh, the sigmoidoscope.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
He's put it up there and he wants to show me what he's done, right? And this is the best line. He goes, "Now, we may encounter some stool. Don't be embarrassed." And I said to him, "Why would I be embarrassed, Doc? The stool is where it's supposed to be. You're not where you're supposed to be." And the nurse walks out of the room because she's laughing so hard. She actually leaves because she can't keep it together. And he's laughing. And I'm like, well, yeah, dude, you're in my ass. I know where stool comes from. I'm 50.
That's true. That's
hilarious. Yeah, so, not only do you get to be healthy, you get a visual tour of the inside of your colon. So that was my that was my January.
That's fantastic.
And halfway through February, yep.
Here's the bad news, because recommendations have just come out that maybe not in your case, because you do have a family history of it, and or perhaps risk factors for it. If you do not have a family history or risk factors for it,
what are the risk factors?
I don't know.
Okay, go ahead.
I forget. But if you fit that criteria, which I think most people do, you do not have to have a colonoscopy, because a simple fecal test that you perform at home and send it away to the lab is just as effective at screening colon cancer as a invasive colonoscopy.
How can that be? How can that tell if a polyp is turning cancerous? I have to question that. I do. It sounds like the drug companies or the fecal inspecting company is lobbying for that. It's
because cells from that polyp that is becoming cancerous would slough off into your feces.
All right. Well, if people
can be detected.
If people haven't shut off the podcast by now, I don't know. You guys are diehards at this point.
Oh shit!
But that's all I'm saying.
That's true.
I was just pointing out that my doctor
is
an overachiever. That's all I was trying to stress.
This is a tangent right up your ass. That's what this is.
So to sum up the night at the whiskey tasting, we had a great time, and a lot of our friends were there, and we met some new people. A lot of policemen there. I met a policeman's wife, Sasha, who was younger than us, but beginning her journey into whiskey, and it was really interesting to see her perspective on some things.
It really was. I felt like she was like us. 15, 16 years ago.
Yeah, so she was like a sponge. She really asked a lot of questions from us and the people, and it really gave us a kind of an insight to that whiskey drinker and helped us kind of clarify what we need to really focus on.
What was also interesting is she was very into scotches, of which there was really only one there.
Yes, a 16-year. It was actually delicious. I had too much of it. So evidently, towards the end of the night, we got ready to leave. And
they were all packing up with their stuff, and then you went and hoarded.
I collected a couple of drinks at the end.
He says collected. The word is hoarding.
I had 3 drinks lined up in front of me that I probably didn't need because I'd already had
five drinks.
That's fake news.
4? I think there were 4.
Counting the one in my hand?
Yes.
All right, 5.
Yeah.
I had 3 lined up in front of me, and I was drinking one.
Yes.
But they were closing up, so what do? At our whiskey lounge, I probably had $65 in front of me.
Yeah, I took one of them from you and drank it.
Okay.
And then I kept feeding you water because you fell off a cliff.
Yeah, I was fine until I wasn't, right?
Yeah.
Fair to say?
Yes.
I'm like, hey, how are you? Yeah, right. The only problem I have is I just don't remember the journey from the restaurant to the house.
Well, I'll tell you what happened. We walked.
Be kind.
Be kind. We went to get our coats. The woman was very nice, very aged woman.
I had the ticket.
I gave it to the aged, wrinkled, like a shrunken, apple-headed woman.
She was at least 88.
She's 108.
At least 88.
But she gave us her coats, but then she literally stopped me, like with strength I did not know that a woman that old could have, to give us our Heaven Hill Distillery booklet
that I'd put there hours earlier. Because
and you must have instilled like it was the Holy Grail.
Do not let us forget this.
Do not let us forget this.
No matter how drunk I am.
So I collected all that stuff. We got your coat on. Sergio's driving us. We're walking to his car, and you knock over a sign outside of the restaurant. Knocking it over. People inside at windows heard the commotion and saw what was happening, and they were just laughing. It was fine. The sign was fine. It was metal. Sergio just calmly picked it up.
He's a good guy.
And he drove us back here.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't driving.
You passed out on my couch.
I fell asleep on your couch.
Serge and I talked for about 20 minutes, and you were not moving.
I slept?
Yeah, you slept. You slept there.
It's a long week.
I could not wake you up. I could not get you to do anything, so I just went to bed and left you there.
Okay. It was all right. I woke up at about 3:30, and I got my sheet and pillow and laid on the couch, and everything was all right.
Yeah, got some water and some Advil. You're all right.
Oh, yeah, it's fine. So it was, yeah. I mean, it was a top 10 night for me in my career, but you live and learn,
right?
Even at my age, you can still learn. So
overall, it was a good night.
So that's my second PSA to everybody today. Eat a good, healthy dinner if you go to a whiskey tasting, and remember that
drink water while you're doing it.
You're supposed to taste the whiskeys, not have a full drink at all 30 stations,
right? Which
I didn't do, but.
You might as well have.
I would be surprised if I didn't drink about 3/4 of a bottle that night.
Yeah,
I would think that's probably accurate, and that's a little bit sloppy on my part. So I'm going to take.
You're a professional drinker. You should have.
I should have known better, and I was excited to be there, and I let my excitement get in the way of just common sense.
Yeah, that's all right. We all have those nights.
Yep, and I got a text message from Sasha asking to be on our podcast, and I'm going to say, Sasha, you just were.
Nice. Well, I think that's good.
All right, everybody, thank you so much for listening to another edition of the Whiskey Tangent podcast, and enjoy a nice drink. Drink responsibly. A good life to all of you.
We'll see you next time.
If you enjoyed this podcast episode, be sure to check out our next episode, which is way better than this one.
Oh, yeah.
Also, follow and like our Facebook page at facebook.com/whiskeytangent. And follow us on Twitter at Whiskey Tangent. You can follow me personally at That Whiskey Guy. And follow Scott at Giant Cup of Awesome, spelled AWSUM, just to be annoying.
Hey!
You can email us any questions, comments, or love at whiskeytangent@gmail.com,
And of course, you can find us always at our podcast website, whiskeytangent.podbean.com.